Alright, hi, the KM2 vent valve portion. The function of the KM2 vent valve shown in figure 9 is to ensure the emergency brake application for the train with the cars equipped with the provided with large capacity local venting with a brake player pipe within each of the following initiation for each of the emergency brake application. The KM2 vent valve portion is a compact device that, at the minimum of moving the portion simple for construction that contains the value of the 60 men contains the brake pipe patch for the chamber K with the exhaust valve 66 fulcrum with a lever which oscillates fulcrum to the vent valve body at one end 60. The opposite end of the lower lever 67 with the force downward, the force spring 62 accurate between the cover 72 and spring seat 63. The seats of the upon the end of the lever, the exhaust valve C is held with the assembly with the exhaust valve 66 by the steel retainer 64. The exhaust valve is normally held with the seating of the bushing president vent valve of the body with the body loading the spring with the 62. The diaphragm mount of the piston assembly consisting of a piston 53 and piston stem 51 washer, the blowdown check valve to 52 and the filter 56. Diaphragm to 54. Diaphragm valve the word 57 nut pusher 58 is guided with the one end of the diaphragm housing the 50 with the piston stem 51 at the other end of the diaphragm 54 with the clamp as assembly between the body 60 and the diaphragm housing 50, piston 53 and piston stem 51. Diaphragm valve 57 nut pusher 58 and maintained to provide with the charging pasture for the brake pipe preside with the diaphragm chamber K to provide the housing chamber the pave chamber H, B with the port B with the nut pusher on the 58. How there is the central pass with the C through the passage D formed between the piston and the 53 and diaphragm valve 57 with the felt filter 56 and the charging choke F with the stabilizing choke H with the drilled into the piston stem 51 so as to provide stability against the undesired emergency vent during the surface brake application. During a surface brake application brake pipe reduction, the capacity of the charging choke F is not sufficient to cover the pressure reduction of the chamber H to keep in place in chamber K, but therefore the piston 53 moves between the carrying blowdown check seal 52 out of the seating of the contact with the seat which is formed into the on the end of the out of the position of the stem guide. This is enough to allow the air chamber H to flow with the stabilizing choke with H with the chamber K with the B with the passage C and port B with the capacity stabilizing choke H with the diaphragm is sufficient to prevent the pressure basis developing across the diaphragm 54 because undesired emergency during the surface application of the bending valve exhaust was protected against the entrance of the foreign materials bell-shaped housing supporting a flexible diaphragm 78 crossing in its opening. Distributing emergency brake application, the rate of the brake pipe, the reduction of the chamber K with the overcome with the combined capacity of the charging choke with the F, the stabilizing choke with H, the consequently air pressure of the chamber H, move the diaphragm 54, the piston upward of the nut and the flat pusher with the 58, the contactor level of the 67, the moving upward of the, against the spring 62, the cause of the exhaust valve 66 with the seal 65 to be unseated with the exposing larger opening of the atmosphere through the vent with the protector, the high capacity local venting with the brake pipe air to each with the car and the train resolved with the venting of the brake pipe air through the venting with the protector will connect until the air that has been discharged from the H chamber H after the forcing of the spring 62 cause the lever 67 and push the diaphragm assembly downward to all exhaust valve 66 and seal 65. To reseat it against the exhaust valve C as the exhaust valve is reseated small spring 70 action between the lever 70 67 exhaust valve 66 causes the latter to be seated squarely on its seat and prevent any possibility of misalignment. When the brakes are released by the chamber system, its recharge of the brake pipe will flow with the chamber K through the port B through the passage C and D through the charging choke 56 and out charging choke 58 charge chamber H with the brake pipe pressure. Alright, K2 on vent valve portion. This shows the K2 on vent valve portion, the spring loaded diaphragm seating, the surface from a spring. Your ports A, C. You got A. Wait, where's A? I can't. It's C, D, B, C, D, and H and F. Check valve with the pass by choke with the check one inch check valve with the 5/16 pass choke valve allows air to flow unrestricted one direction, restricted for the opposite direction. Figure 10 shows the diagrammatic view of the subjective valve and consists of the body 2 with the inlet port and outlet port shown. The check valve 3 with the held seated with the pressure differential cap, the nut 4 with the ceiling contact with the body 2 with the bypass choke with the 5 allows the air to pass the outlet with the valve inlet. The check valve and the bypass choke valve. Alright, shows the 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Combined strainer and choke valve. The combined strainer with the check valve is shown in figure 11 and enabled to break the locomotive being handled with being hauled with the dead end of the train operated. Normal check valve with the one of the T held seated with the spring also by the main reserve pressure to ensure the zero leakage path of the check valve. With the absence of the main reserve pressure of the brake pipe, the pressure overcomes the force spring of the check valve with opens allowing the brake pipes to flow with the main reserve provided with the air pressure operating with the brakes through the dead locomotive. The check valve prevents the sudden drop in the brake pipe pressure for the application of the train brakes, which would otherwise occur with when uncharged main reserve is cut out with a charged brake pipe. The strainer 3 prevents the dirt and foreign particles from entering the system. This is the combined strainer with the check valves are not required at all times. The cutout cock provided with the same line with the cutout cock with the captain clove with the exempt of the locomotive being hauled with the dead. Alright, combined strainer and check valve 1, 2, and 3 choke. Our emergency brake valve. The emergency brake valve is used for the locomotive. The unit is usually located near the fireman's position. Is installed with the end of the brake pipe from an inch pipe that provides the means of obtaining automatic emergency brake application for the point other than the brake valve. The emergency brake valve should be used only in case of the actual danger of this. Should be left open until the train stops. After the operating lever that has been pulled, it must be manually reset with the brake pipe that has been can be discharged. For any figure 12 brake pipe, the airflow for the emergency brake valve is trapped under the vent valve, which is held and seated with the brake valve spring. Brake pipe pressure held on hold with the vent valve 3 seated and help prevent the brake pipe air leakage. When operating lever 9 is pulled with the means with the core of the otherwise valve lever to move downward, unseating the vent valve 3, burning brake pipe air to be vented to the atmosphere. The emergency brake shell valve shows 3/8 inch and NPT and 3/8 inch outlet. Are your multiple 2A valve. The multiple unit 2A valve is shown for the gear 13 3-position cam operated with the spool valve arranged with the pipe breaker that is employed with enable the 26NL equipped locomotive to multiple unit with the 6N 26L B26L and 26NL 24RL equipped locomotive with the multiple 2A valve. Multiple unit 2A valve with the pilot for the F1 selector valve with which is a device that enables the equipment of the trailing locomotive to be controlled with the equipment to lead the lead locomotive with the multiple unit operation. Pipe connections are made with the pipe breaker. They are as follows: two independent applications for the release pipe, the one actuating pipe for the BF, 13 actuating pipe, 20 the independent application release pipe, 30 the main reserve, 53 the multiple unit control pipe, 63 the multiple unit interlocking pipe. G2 Escalon plated for the face of the available to use for the valve with the porting the arrangement is not affected with the type of the Escalon plate employed with the marking for the 2 Escalon plates of the valve. 3-position red lettering lead and 2-position black lettering. 3-position red lettering is lead dead or trail 6, trail 22, 4, and 6. 2-position black lettering lead or dead trail 2, 4, or 2, and. The position of the multiple unit 2A and valve are selected with the position of the valve handle. This handle must be first depressed for the overcoming spilling and loading to permit that it is being moved. The handle with the position which for the arrow position when the type of the position is chosen. Alright, your trail 24, 26, trail 6, lead dead 2, 3, and 63, etc. 23, 13, 30, and 53. Multiple unit 2A valve. Operation. The following description shows the cover the operation of the MLJ2A valve. They're using the 3-position Escon plate with the red lettering. Leader dead position. The multiple 2A valve, valve handling the leader dead position, main with the reserve air pressure for the port number 30 with the blank with the spool valve with the ports number 53 and 63 are connected to the exhaust. Independent brake control pressure originating with the independent brake valve part number 20 with the connected with the port number 2 with the multiple 2A and multiple unit 2A valve through the spool valve with the port number 20 with the port number 20 and it's a multiple 2A valve is connected to the port number 20 of the F1 selector valve with the further passage of the blank. It has also the number 24A double check valve at the distributing valve to provide for an independent brake application on lead locomotive. The actuating pipe of the brake valve with the port number 13 is connected with the port number 3 with the multiple unit 2A valve through the spool of the valve with the port number 13 with the multiple 2A valve. The port number 13 is connected with the number 24A double check valve with the FB at the FB4 magnet valve to be the train line actuating pipe if one exists on the locomotive. Alright, you're trailing 6 position in 26NL equipped the locomotive of the train behind the locomotive equipped with the 6 and 26L brake equipment. They handle with the multiple unit the position in the trail 6 position. The spool valve with the blanks of the port number 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 13, 20, and the 4 port number 3, which is the connected with the actuating pipe with number 13 with the brake valve. At the brake valve is exhausted. The independent brake valve is to handle with the least position. The main reserve air is connected to the spool valve with the ports number 53 and 63 that was connected to the ports 53 and 63 respectively. F1 selector valve. Or trail 24 and 26NL equipped with the locomotive of the trail behind with the locomotive equipped with the 24R, 26L, 26NL brake equipment. The handle of the multiple unit 2A valve with the position of the trail 24 and 26 position. The spool valve with the length reports the number 2, 3, 13, and 20 with the port number 53 connected with the exhaust lathe with the multiple 2A 3 valve with its trailing 6 position. And port 3 is exhaust with an independent brake valve with the handle with the release of the position. Main reserve air is connected to the port number 63 in which the turn is connected to the port number 63 for the F1 selector valve. The multiple 2A1 valve is shown in figure 14. The two position of the ports 53, 63, and 30 blanked off the both position the valve of either the close, open or close with regard to the port 2, 30, and 2, 20, and 30, and 13 for the valves operating with the same multiple 2A valve. And like the multiple 2A valve, three position valve, the multiple 2A1 cannot be moved in third position. These are hydraulic drawings, so but like I like these better because like I can see the path in different ports. So you have port number 50, 30, 63, 2, 20, 30, and 13 of your multiple 2A unit 1 valve. Alright, your DT3 double check valve. The DT double check valve shown in figure 15 U for the control device. Two different sources of the interaction between the source of the inner floating ball with actually directs the flow of the air from one of the other two control devices for the common discharge. Then both control ports are the high pressure. The higher pressure will take over the note. However, their air cannot be owned from one control port to the other control port. Common, show the common discharge from source supply supply source. The F1 selector. The F1 selector is shown in figure 16. Response to the pilot multiple 2A valve condition with the brake equipment. The locomotive performed the satisfactory as the lead with the dead of the unit, but the trailing unit, the multiple unit, the locomotive also performs. Also performed the function protection with the trailing locomotive with the brakes equipment, automatically resetting the brake control to the lead position, preventing separation, brake into the outcurve of the lead locomotive. The selector valve of the portion is mounted in the pipe bracket, of which all pipe connections are made with identified as follows: 4 automatic brake pipe control pipes, 12 emergency pipes, 14 brake cylinder equalizing pipes, 15 main reserve equalizing pipes, 16 application pipes to the relay position, 20 application the release pipes, 30 brake cylinder pressure cylinder pipes, 53 multiple unit control pipes, 63 multiple unit interlocking pipe. Alright, the F1 selector valve consists of 3 sections, each with the consisting of spool valve, and one of them and the protecting valve with its controlled with the air pressure for the main reserve equalizing pipe. In the event of the brake pipe and break into the spool valve is automatically positioned to provide a lead and unit with the brake condition, and the other transfer section that contains controlled by the air pressure for the multiple unit with the control pipe, with the multiple unit interlocking pipe with the next with the paint with the shown the diagrammatic drawings. Figure 15 to the position leader dead trail 6, 24, trail 2, 4, and 2, 6 to break in 2 pipe and break in 2. Operation lead in dead position. Then with a 26L and when a 26NL equipped with locomotive is leading the 627L, B26L or 26NL equipped locomotive air pressure for the ports number 53 and 63. The F1 cylinder valve is vented with the multiple 2A valve control valve with the air flow for the multiple connection with the number 2 with the 6NL or distributing valve with the air where it's blank of the air pressure. The number 2 also flows with the port number 2B number 248 double check valve port 2A, then an application from the position at the number 6R distributing valve that develops the brake cylinder pressure. Lead locomotive the brake cylinder air from the number 6R, and then the 6NR distributing the valve the BC port is connected to the port number 30 with the selector valve where it's connected with the spool valve to port number 14. The brake cylinder equalizing pressure, the brake cylinder equalizing pressure for the lead locomotive controlling the brake and the trailing locomotive. Another locomotive shows the ABC port, port 63, 53, 15, 14, 4, and along with the passage from port 30 to port A, and then trailing to out to port 14. Different bypasses are your spool valves. Your valve A is an envelope A with a trail 4, 24, 26. Break into the valve L and lever valve B envelope dead lead dead valve trail 6 24 26 and break into valve C envelope A trail 6 lead envelope lead Dale trail 24 26 break into trail 6 position. When the 26NL equipped the locomotive with the trailing 6 or 26L equipped the locomotive with the main reserve of the air pressure supply of the ports number 53, 63 multiple unit 2A valve with the position with the spool valve, the F1 cylinder valve shown in the diagrammatic arrangement with the trail 6 with the position air with the brake with the cylinder equalizing pipe with the connected with the port number 16, then to the relay valve with the valve with the brake cylinder pressure. After the brake cylinder equalizing pressure is connected to port number 20, the independent application release pipe with the clove with the multiple unit 2A valve. Thus the brakes are applied with the trailing unit same in the manner as they are applied in the lead unit. Are the trailing 2426 position, the 26NL equipped locomotive with the trailing the 24RL 26L and the 26NL equipped locomotive with the main reserve pressure of the supply within the port number 63 multiple 2A valve with the position with the spool valve with the F1 selector is shown with the diagrammatic arrange with the trail 246 24 24 and 26 the position airflow with the flowing from the connection number 2 with the 6NR distributing valve with the port number 16 with the selector valve with the blank with the passage 2 for the also flow with the port number 2 6 and 24A with the double check valve with the port 2A then the application for the position with the 6NR the distributing valve develop the brake cylinder pressure lead locomotive air pressure analyst so enter the port number 14 selector valve with the brake cylinder equalizing pressure of the equalizing pipe the follow the spool valve with the port number 20 with the air the leak actuated the 6NR distributing valve application position the brakes on the trailing locomotive they actuated either they are automatic brake application or by independent brake application initiated by the leading 24RL, 26L, or 26NL equipped locomotive. Brake in 2 position. The brake in 2 occurs with the pressure lock of the main reserve equalizing pressure air of the venting with the connection with the number 15 with the F1 selector valve with the chamber beneath the protection spool valve with the spool valve is forced to its lower position with the spring force on the lead locomotive with the brake cylinder airflow with the brake pipe cylinder equalizing pressure connection 14. Number 14 is cut off with the brake protection spool valve. On the trailing locomotive with the F1 selector for the position of the trail 6 with the protection spool valve with then air with the chamber beneath the right hand with the spool with which there will be forced to the lower position at the lead position is blank at the port number 14, port number 16, port number 20 connection to the F1 selector valve is positioned in 2 for L 24 626, port number 14 is port number 20 connection with the cutoff of the protection spool valve with the position isolates the brake cylinder from the brake broken brake cylinder equalizing the pipe permitting the development of the brake cylinder pressure for the 6NR distributing valve. Alright, your lead shows the different valve ports. Your main port lead and dead are 16, 14, 14, and 13. Brake in 2 is between 16 and 4. Your trail 6 is between 14, 16, and 20. And your trail 24 and 26 is between 14, 30, 14, 20, and 16 and 4. Automatic brake control 4, emergency 12, emergency pipe 14, brake cylinder, equalizing pipe 15, main reserve equalizing pipe 16, air pipe, application pipe 20, independent application release pipe 30, brake cylinder pipe, multiple unit control pipe 53, multiple unit interlocking pipe 63. Alright, overspeed and safety control function for the P2A brake application. The control over the overspeed control for the safety control features for the P2A brake application. Valve which is piloted venting the device compromising overhead overspeed magnet valve with overspeed with the controlling with the foot valve with the safety control. The overspeed magnet valve is normally energized whenever the authorized maximum speed limit is exceeded. The overspeed magnet valve becomes de-energized. It is functions to prevent the atmospheric pressure for the spring of the chambered P2A valve brake application valve. The foot pressure must be maintained with the foot pedal with the foot valve at all times and lift the brake cylinder pressure that approximately 30 psi gauge is already in effect. Whenever the foot pressure is removed from the foot pedal, the foot valve functions also prevent the atmospheric pressure from the spring chamber of the P2A valve, brake application valve. This is being the venting of the air pressure dissipated through the system of the chokes, whistles, and later providing the audible warning over the time delayed period before the pressure has become produced sufficiently to cause the brake pipe application valve to apply. The P2A brake application valve with the figure 17 functions automatically responds to the operation overspeed for the safety control venting of the device to produce the full surface brake application on the left. The brake valve handle has been moved to the suppression position for the predetermined interval after the start of the audible warning whistle. The P2A brake application consists of the main diaphragm control spool valve, the reduction check valve, the release check control valve, the suppression valve is mounted within pipe bracket to which the pipe connections are made and identified as follows. 3. The foot valve, 5. The equalizing reserve, 8. The lock over pipe, and 10. The safety control pipe, 15 the equalizing reserve charge for the brake valve, 25 the power knockout, 26 the suppression pipe, 30 the main reserve pipe, reservoir pipe, 30 24 the reducing limiting reservoir, and 33 the switching pipe. With the locomotive equipped with charge for the operating normally the main reservoir air enters the port number 30 with the pipe bracket flow for the underside of the diaphragm, also through the port number 10A, spring chamber above the diaphragm, also through the port number 10 with the timing reservoir volume, overspeed the control magnet which is enclosed in operative position, main reservoir air with the port with the number 10, also flows with the lower end with the suppression valve 2, port number 3 with the valve that is in help with the close with the foot with the pressure for the foot pedal with the chamber with both sides of the diaphragm of sharp with the main reserve pressure for the diaphragm spring will position the diaphragm assembly attached to the spool valve in normal release position. In this position, the spool valve makes the following connections. The reduction limit of reserve of the exhaust of the atmosphere valve via the port number 24, the power knockout, or the PC switch is prevented to the atmosphere via the port number 25. 2. The equalizing reservoir in port number 5 is connected through the release control valve, permitting the charge of the equalizing reservoir chamber to release the valve portion of the brake valve of the equalizing reservoir charging port number 15. With the automatic brake valve handle in the release position, the port number 33, the chamber above the release of the control valve, the charge with the air, the main reserve pressure, the chamber below the release control valve, the application spool valve, the venting through the port number 8 with the suppression valve, the brake valve V with the port number 8, the pipe at the end, so the release control valve is held into the downward position, is shown in figure 17, connected to the port number 5 port and the number 15 port. During a penalty brake application that can be initiated with the venting of the number 3 pipe, the foot valve with the venting of the number 10 pipe, with overspeed magnet valve, the air pressure with the venting with the spring chamber above the diaphragm faster, that can be restored through the choke with the port number 10A, consequently pressure differential established across the diaphragm sufficient to cause attached spool valve to move with the upward application position. With the in position, the spool valve makes the following connections. Or the main reserve air port with the number 30 with the chamber beneath the diaphragm connected to the port number 25, then for the power cutoff with the switch with the dynamic cutoff switch. 2. The main reserve reservoir air will normally flow through the choke with the port number 10A with the connector to the port number 8 and 8, and therefore the chamber over the spring side of the diaphragm as well as the timing reserve of the volume is connected to the port number 10 with the automatic is also integrally connected to the port number 8, which is connected to the lockout with the number 8 pipe with the brake valve with the pipe is normally vented out with the brake valve with the suppression vent valve spool valve with automatic brake valve the handle in the release position. 3. Equalizing reservoir charging when the port number 15 is cut off. 4. Equalizing reservoir air port and number 5 is connected through the spool valve of the port number 24A through the calibrated choke through the port number 24 to the reduction limiting reservoir. Equalizing reservoir air through being allowed to equalize the controlled rate with the reduction limiting reservoir to produce the full surface equalizing reservoir pressure reduction. A safety control brake application suppressed to move the automatic brake valve handle suppression position before the expiration detail. Predetermined time delay period after the warning whistle commences to the sound. When the brake valve handle is in the suppression position, the suppression valve of the spool valve, the brake valve is positioned to close the venting of the lockout and number 8 pipe throughout the preventing of the venting of the air with the spring of the chamber, thus through this pipe the main reserve air supplied with the suppression valve with the flow through the port number 26, the connecting pipe with the port number 26, the P2A valve, the brake application valve, which flow through port number 26 of the face with the suppression valve with the piston force of the piston down with where the spool valve cuts off with the connection between port number 3 and 10 with the spring chamber. The diaphragm above the diaphragm is cut off with the port number 3 with the foot pedal with the main reserve air. Continue the supply through the port number 10A with the choke with the spring chamber above the diaphragm, keeping the diaphragm assembly attached to the spool valve with the release of the position function and the safety control venting with the device and the foot valve cannot cover the application of the valve to apply with the long and automatic brake valve handle is being to move the suppression position. An overspeed control brake application being suppressed only by reducing speed with the locomotive below the maximum authorized speed before the expiration of the predetermined delay period with the warning whistle commences the sound such the action before the venting of the number 10 pipe through the overspeeding venting device magnet valve. To reset the release of the safety control of the overspeed with the control brake application, the engine man first move the automatic brake valve handle to the suppression position that results in closing the number 8 pipe venting with the brake valve with the spring chamber. The black brake application valve will be then recharged from through port number 10A with the main reserve pressure. As soon as the pressure chamber approaches the predetermined valve, the diaphragm assembly, the spool valve will reset their normal real release position. When the brake valve handle is in suppression position, the port number 33 chamber above the release control valve venting through the suppression valve of the spool valve, the brake valve with which the number 8 vent valve closed when the main reserve supply with the number 10 is allowed to flow past the application valve spool and the chamber beneath the release of the control valve. Or the release control valve therefore actuated to count the number 15 into the number 5 port charging. Hence, after the application of the valve is set and necessary to move the automatic brake valve with the handle to the release position, reset the release control valve to the reestablish equalizing reservoir charging and release of the brakes. Over reduction can be made if desired after the penalty brake application. Moving the brake valve handle has been served as a position. The handle off position over reduction valve of the P2A brake application valve will be opened to permit equalizing reservoir air flow to the number 5 and number 15 brake valve. Alright, this shows you part number 2 brake application, the suppression valve, application release and suppression, the 26 and port number 3, port number 15 through the 33, and suppression valve goes through over reduction, application release, seat note 1, position of the release control valve during the suppression off and reset after the penalty application reset, release control. 33 port through the suppression port of 15, an over reduction through the over reduction check valve to port number 5. Port number 24 and 25 go to the spool valve with the release and applications of port number 30, and while the supply and application release goes from 26 to 10 and 30. Yeah. Auxiliary view showing the position of the release of the control valve during the suppression after the release of the penalty. Suppression valve check over the reduction check valve. Example, release of the control valve. Auxiliary view showing the suppression valve, the suppression position. This right here. Over reduction check valve, the release control valve, suppression valve. 3, the foot valve. 5, the equalizing reserve. 8, the lock over pipe. 10, the safety control valve. 15, the equalizing reserve charging pipe. 25, the power knockout. 26, the suppression pipe. 30, the main reserve pipe. 24, the reduction limiting reserve. 33, the switch pipe. Alright, breaking two protection feature of the A1 charge of the cutoff valve pilot valve. Breaking the two protection feature of the employee of the A1 charging cutoff pilot valve. During the normal brake operation, the A1 charging cutoff valve will be in normal release position. Figure 18, the main reserve of the will air will be present in the chamber A beneath the cutoff of the piston held and hold the upper position of the shown chamber A, but beneath the cutoff piston spool will connect to the exhaust of the V of the port number 53 cutoff of the pilot valve exhaust of the 26C with the brake of the valve and leading the unit to the trailing unit where in the cutoff of the pilot valve the out position the chamber the position charged with the main reserve air from the chamber to receive above the cutoff position. Port number 9 is connected with the exhaust V with the actuating piston spool through automatic standing time choke in the brake pipe. The air flows through the port number 1 charging D surrounding the backside of the actuating piston through in which the choke on the piston chamber E with at the outer of the face piston number through port number 11 through the 90 cubic inch volume reservoir charging the volume reserve and both sides of the actuating pipe piston. The brake pipe pressure of the piston is therefore held down into the spring force is shown in port number 35 in the chamber beneath the dynamic cutout switch exhausted through the cutoff piston spool valve. Whenever the break into occur of the brake pipe, air pressure drops faster than chamber D from chamber E with the choke. The resultant pressure of the differential curve of the actuating pipe causes the spool valve to move forward up against the spring loading as shown in lower view of the figure 18 of the piston main with the reserve air reserve is connected through the actuating piston and the spool valve of the chamber C with the outer face of the cutoff piston that is applied the support number 9 power cutoff valve with the switching and standing the reserve of the chamber B with beneath the cutoff spool valve normally exhaust the engine above presence of the main reserve pressure of the chamber C with the outer face of the cutoff piston will exhaust the piston and spool to be forced inward to the lowermost portion. When in the chamber A beneath the cutoff piston valve head is exhausted if the piston if its main reserve air is connected through the cutoff piston spool with number 35 to the number cutoff switch also passes the unseat the cutoff check valve with the port number 53 of the brake pipe cutoff valve with the 6C brake valve. The air pressure in the number 90 cubic inch volume reserve port number 11, the chamber E beneath the actuating chamber that continues with the reducing 0 through the piston choke with the port number 1 to brake pipe exhaust. When the pressure is being reduced, the predetermined valve with the spring tension will move the actuating piston its spool valve in the lowermost position. Show the auxiliary view of the figure 18, and the air pressure of the power cutoff switch with the standing reservoir will then exhaust with the automatic standing time of the choke with the V of the port number 9 actuating pipe with the spool valve. The air pressure likewise exhausts the chamber C outer face for the cutoff piston. In order to reset the engine man must move the automatic brake valve handle to the emergency position main reserve air through the connected port number 12 of the brake valve flow for the path of the unseat the selector of the check valve of the chamber B with beneath the cutoff valve piston for the cutoff piston if the spool valve is upward normal release position port number 53 pipe being supplied with the air from port number 12 cannot be dissipated through the cutoff valve with the brake valve handle must be moved to the release position before the number 53 pipe. Air pressure can be drained through the brake release. The slightly inherent delay the releasing the brake has been introduced for the use of the arrangement of the brake into preparation. Protection, On trailing unit, the main reserve air supply with the number 53 in the cutoff pilot valve when positioned with the out position. Therefore, the chamber B move the cutoff piston valve, spool valve, the charge with the main reserve pressure with both the chambers A and B with the charging of the main reserve pressure. Presence of the main reserve air pressure of the chamber C is supplied with the actuating pipe. Piston spool valve does not provide with the force to move the cutoff valve with the piston inward to describe the break into with the lead unit. The power knockout switch and the automatic standing are actuated the main reserve air being supplied with the port number 9. During the manual brake valve emergency application on the leading unit of the chamber B with beneath the cutout piston spool valve to charge with the main reserve pressure V with the port number 12 with the number 12 pipe automatic brake valve with us with the chamber A, B, and C with all charge with the main reserve pressure. The cutout piston and the spool valve remain in the upper position. This shown in the piston diagram shown in figure 18. The power knockout switch and automatic standing are actuated with the main reserve air flowing through the port number 9. The dynamic cutout switch is actuated with the main reserve air supplied directly with the brake valve. The emergency valve with the port number V with the number 12 pipe. Number 24 double check valve with the desire to release the brake valve. The brake valve handle should be moved to the release position. There will also inherently delay the governing time required to exhaust the port number 53 pipe through the cutoff pilot valve before the brake pipe cutoff valve can open to permit relay recharging the system and releasing the brakes. Alright, the A1 charging pilot valve system, the cutoff piston, actuating piston, ports number 33 and 50 through the cutout check valve into the, which looks like your selector check valve, with normal release braking, brake valve emergency, brake in 2 emergency, shows the different paths braking in 2. And the cutoff piston, the cutoff piston actuating auto sand, time sand, ports 1 and 9 and 11 going in. The release is 1 and 9, emergency is 9 and 11. Legend 1, brake pipe 11, volume 12, the emergency switch, and reset pipe 9, the auto standing, and the power knockout switch 30, the main reserve 53, the brain pipe, cutout pipe, the 35, the dynamic cutout pipe, lead trailing locomotive normal release. Lead locomotive manual brake valve, emergency trailing locomotive any emergency, and actuating piston after the number 11 pipe volume the reservoir exhaust through the time choking lead locomotive brake in 2 emergency. A1 charging cutoff pilot valve figure 18. Alright, pause. Alright, dynamic braking interlocking feature. The dynamic braking interlocking feature functions with the dynamic braking release to prevent the automatic surface of the brake application on the locomotive. It consists of the FB4 with the magnet valve installed with the brake system between the main reserve supply and the 26C brake valve, the main reserve supply with the N6 and our distributing valve. The FB4 magnet valve consists of the 2 opposed check valve with the coil with the armature with the coil with the 2 wire connections which are connected to the dynamic brake electrical circuit. The coil is normally de-energized with its upper check valve with the NC with the venting with the actuating pipe with the atmosphere connecting the port 1 and 2, the port 3. Lower check valve is seated with the spring force with the cut off the main pressure, main reserve air supply with port number 2 and from port 11. Port number 2 from port 1. Upon initiation of the dynamic brake operation, the dynamic brake circuit with the energizer with the coil with the magnet valve with the coil armature, the seat for the upper check valve with the cutting off with the communication with the actuating pipe with the atmosphere. Also unseat the lower check valve with the permitting the main reserve air to flow with the number 10 port with the H5B relay air valve in which the effect of the release automatic brake valve prevents the developing of the automatic brake in the locomotive so long as the dynamic brake is in effect. The independent application relief of the locomotive brake is available at all times irrespectively of dynamic brake operation. During an emergency brake application, the dynamic brake is nullified, allowing the automatic pneumatic brake to operate. With this accomplished through the use of the dynamic cutout switch suitability installed with the de-energized the FB4 dynamic interlocking magnet valve during the emergency brake operations. Also, some of the some equipments are arranged to permit the dynamic braking nullification during the safety control, overspeed control brake applications. Operating instructions. The following instructions are intended to cover in general the way of the proper method of handling 26NL brake with equipment with the surface that does not apply rigidly to all the individual cases of the condition. Specific instruction usually issued by each of the railroad to cover the own recommended practice in accordance with the local operation conditions. Before starting the air compressor for the locomotive not being coupled to a train closed with the train cock with the reserve at the end of the cocks, each of the end of the locomotive dead engine from the cutout cock will also hear all the following cocks are open in the main reserve cutout cock, the brake cylinder cutout, cutout cock, and the supply lines of a single device and cutout cocks on the brake pipe branch for the pipe number 6N are distributing valve. Alright, cutoff pilot valve portion, double heading cock. The handle of the cutoff pilot valve first moved depressed against the spring loaded before it can be moved from one position to the other valve. The position in the end, depending upon the type of the surface to which the locomotive is assigned, it must be positioned in the out position for the locomotive is operating and dead or trailing either the multiple unit consists. When making initial terminal brake pipe with leakage tests as well as described later, the cutoff pilot valve handle must be positioned in the out position, nullifying the pressure, maintaining the feature of the restore the control of the brake valve. The handle must be returned in the on in position, depending on the type of the surface with the locomotive is operated. which is he operated. Independent brake valve with applying locomotive of the brake with the SA-226. The independent brake valve must move the handle to the right, full independent application extreme right. When the release of the moving the handle to the left, brake valve being the self-lapping type will lap automatically into any point in the application zone where the handle movement has been stopped. To make independent release of the automatic brake application, to press the independent brake valve handle. Independent brake valve handle should be always in release position extreme left than when the unit is in a trailing unit or a multiple unit consisting of dependent being towed dead. Or your automatic brake valve. When charging the train, relief the automatic brake valve application, the automatic brake valve handle should be placed in the release position or the running position, which is the extreme left of the quadrant. When making the surface brake application for the move of the automatic brake valve handle to the right against the first raised position of the quadrant, the move in the minimum reduction position, which will provide the 6 and 8 psi gauge of the reduction, and if necessary to increase the reduction of the handle progressively right, preparing the bind of the further handle to move at the surface zone, the greater will be the reduction. The brake valve will lap off at the point with the movement, the handle will stop at the surface zone, but the automatic maintain against the brake pipe leakage. A full surface brake application of standby, moving the brake valve handle to the extreme right with the surface zone again for the second position of the quadrant. The emergency brake application is obtained with moving the brake valve handle to the extreme right with the quadrant, which is the emergency position. The automatic brake valve handle should be moved to the handle off position with locomotive of the trailing unit with the multiple unit considered as being dead towed. Multiple 2A unit valve. The handle with the multiple 2A unit valve, the first must be depressed against the spring forward that can be moved with one position, the other one locomotive is operated with the single unit. The lead of the unit with the multiple unit considered for the handle with the multiple 2A unit valve must be placed in the lead or dead position. When the 26NL equipped with locomotive is operated with the trailing 24RL, the 26L, and the 26NL brake equipment locomotive is handled with the multiple 2A valve that must be placed in the trailing 2426 position when locomotive is operating with the trailing of this 27L. B and the 6 type equipped locomotive, the handle must be placed in the trail 6 position. Note, whenever the 26NL equipped locomotive is operated with the trailing unit with the actuating the pipe coupled with the actuating pipe, leave the locomotive the fastest possible rate with the independent relief with automatic application obtained with the multiple 2A valve with the trailing unit the position trailing 2-4 and regardless of the type of the equipment employed on the lead locomotive. Your general operation, multiple unit operation with locomotive the 26NL equipment is operated with multiple lead leading trailing 24RL equipment units with the units equipped with the brakes with the numbered 6-2. Following connections must be made. 26NL brake pipe and main reserve equalizing pressure actuating pipe and individual application release pipe. Sorry, I read that wrong. The 26NL brake pipe to the 24RL 26L brake pipe to the number 6 and number 26L brake pipe. Alright, and the 26NL main reserve equalizing pipe to the main 24RL 26L main reserve equalizing pipe to the number 627 equalizing reserve pipe. Or your 26NL actuating pipe to the 24RL 26L actuating pipe. Your 26NL independent application release to the 24RL 26 independent application release. And then to the number 6 and number 27LB to the BC equalizing pipe. 26NL pipe, sand pipe to the 24RL 26L sand pipe to the number 6 26L sand pipe. Alright, the 26NL standard and the 24RL and the 26L equipped locomotive units can be operated together in any combination. The 26NL universal equipped locomotive may operate with the 6 type of the 27LB, 26L, and 24RL and 26NL leading and trailing these equipments. Alright, charging in. The chain for the control for the cab with one locomotive to the cab to another cab. First move with the full surface brake application, brake pipe production, depress the handle with the brake valve cutoff valve, move into the cutoff position, place the automatic brake valve handle in the handle off position, independent brake valve handle in the release position, depress the handle in the multiple 2A valve, move it in the trail 24, 26, 24, and 26 position, trail 6 position, depending on the type of the equipment employed with the lead locomotive unit. This locomotive is not setting up the trailing unit. Proceed with the cab of the other locomotive and insert the automatic brake valve handle in the handle off position is removed. The move of the independent brake valve handle to the full application position. Move the automatic brake valve handle to the release position. Press the handle with the multiple 2A valve and move it to the lead or dead position. Depress the handle of the brake valve handle with the cutoff valve. Move it to the out position required with the surface in which the locomotive is operated with the ready to release the locomotive brake. Depress the foot pedal foot valve with the move the independent brake valve to the release position. Test the brake equipment to verify the function properly all units. Alright, towing locomotive and dead end train. The locomotive equipped with the 26 NL brake equipment is to be towed with the dead end train plate for the independent brake valve handle in the release position, automatic brake valve handle in the handle off position. To press the brake valve, cut off the valve handle, and to move the out position. To press the handle with the multiple 2A valve, move the lead or dead position, open the dead engine fixture or cut out cock. Alright, locomotive brake pipe leakage test. When the brake system fully charged with the pilot cutoff valve in position, 15 psi gauge brake pipe reduction. After the exhaust brake pipe pressure ceases, move the pilot cutoff valve to the out position, and time reduction of the brake pipe pressure from the indicator of the locomotive brake pipe gauge. The brake pipe leakage should not exceed the S psi gauge drop 5 in 1 minute with the time period inspection from the brake pipe leak cylinders, which should be made to ensure that the brake pipes have applied. In completion of the test, move the pilot cutoff valve to the in position and the brake valve handle to the release position, and recharge the and release the move the brake valve handle to the release position and recharge the brake system. Alright, train air brake terminal test. With the brake system fully charged within the brake valve with the cutoff valve within position, with the move of the outer brake valve handle promptly to the surface position until the equalizing reservoir pressure has been reduced to 15 psi gauge. Then stop the lever of the handle in the position and wait until 45 to 60 seconds. Wait the time reduction for the brake pipe pressure to indicate the locomotive brake pipe gauge. The brake pipe leakage should not exceed 5 psi gauge drops in 1 minute time period. Optional during inspection of the train, the brake valve handle move toward the full surface position, reducing equalizing reservoir slowly light brake below the brake pipe pressure with the pilot the cutoff valve to return to the in position. The action will be prevent excessive loss of the brake pipe pressure will maintain the surface brake application during the train inspection. Upon completion of the train inspection, after the signal received, the release of the brake for the move of the brake valve handle with the release position, if not already placed for the pilot cutoff valve in the in position, the release of the train brakes. Alright, then there's a whole bunch of diagrams over that, like show the diaphragms, and a list of countries with the representative locomotives. This was once again brought to you by your New York Air Brake Unit, Condor Brake, Instruction Pamphlet number 74, Supplemental, March 1978, 26 NL brake equipment with a 26C brake valve and 6 NR distributing valve for Switch&Road locomotives.